Okay, so my name is Daniel Camacho, and the topic we'll be addressing today, it's the tokenomics and financial part of these stablecoin projects, okay? Specifically Facebook's Libra, well, formerly Libra, now GM project, and JP Morgan coin, the coin project of JP Morgan. So this conference is called Where is the Spare Change? And along the way, you'll understand why this is the name of this conference. So first of all, we have to address the problem of the definition of a stablecoin. A stablecoin, for many of you, if you've never heard the term or you have never understood it correctly, a stablecoin is simply a type of crypto asset whose value is backed and anchored to an underlying asset. Okay, acquiring said assets valuation and stability, avoiding the crypto market high volatility. As we all know, one of the widely criticized aspects of the crypto market is its volatility. So when we subtract the volatility from the equation, the crypto market model seems a lot more perfect than it used to be, because we're subtracting the volatility concept of the market. So stable coins are often presented as solutions or tools due to their nature, having all the benefits of a cryptocurrency, I mean, blockchain, smart contracts, cryptography, and of course, security, without its volatility. That's why they are so widely accepted and praised. But there are different kinds of stable coins that we have to understand, know, and consider when we are approaching these kinds of projects. So one of the four mainly accepted types of cryptocurrencies, we can divide them into sections: the physical stablecoin process and the digital stablecoin process. Okay, on the physical side, we have fiat money-backed cryptocurrencies, specifically talking about stablecoins. One of the points these fiat money-backed projects have is that they have no volatility. They have virtually no volatility because they always stay the same. They work on this one-to-one ratio basis, in which they will always be worth 1 unit of the currency they are backed on. If this is a stable coin based on dollars, every unit of the stable coins will be worth $1. If it's based on euros, 1 unit of the stable coin will be equal to €1. So they maintain this one-to-one ratio, so they have no virtual volatility at all. On the other side, they do not have real value. Think about it. Fiat money-backed stable coins do not have any value at all. Think about it. We'll be talking about this concept in the next slide. The second type of physical stable coins are the asset-backed stablecoins. Okay, these have specifically two main points. First of all, they do have real stability because as they are backed and anchored to a physical asset, it could be land, it could be gold, it could be diamonds, it could be shares of a company or something. It's based on something real and tangible, first of all. But on the other hand, it is not centralized, because as the value of the stable coin comes from a physical asset, this asset must be held by an institution, and that institution must be held accountable. Okay, it should be an auditable company and an audited process, and we must have a lot of controls on the issuance, because the whole system will be centralized depending on them. And as we all know, on the crypto market, that's not a great cryptocurrency project, one who's centralized. Okay, so those are the physical types. Then we have the digital side of the stablecoins, and we have the crypto-backed stablecoins. Okay, these are not that stable because they are based and anchored to a cryptocurrency price or value. Let's say I create Camacho coin, and Camacho coin is a stable coin crypto-backed, and it's backed on Ethereum. So the value of Camacho coin comes from the collective holdings of Ethereum that I, Camacho, have, so that I can distribute this value throughout the other tokens that I'm creating. So this one, this type is not that stable because it's based on a cryptocurrency, which is by nature really and very volatile. But on the other hand, it's completely decentralized because I can create this kind of projects on different platforms such as Uniswap, PancakeSwap, etc. This is a DEX environment, a decentralized exchange economy. So it's completely decentralized. This looks a lot better than the physical types because they are widely just centralized. So the digital side looks a lot better. And the other type of stablecoin that we have on the digital realm is the algorithmic type. This type of stablecoin, the algorithmic type, it's amazingly perfect. Okay, it really is a widely a widely accepted concept of an automated financial system, because when you have an algorithmic logic on your method and your system, it works accordingly every time because it's math. It's not a valuation, it's not a physical asset, it's an algorithmic process. So it's the perfect way to create a stablecoin, the algorithmic path. But that's a topic for another conference. Let's come back to the main topic of this conference, the stablecoin process, the stablecoin projects from JP Morgan and Facebook, and they use the fiat money back. Now, remember that I told you that this kind of stablecoin do not have any real value. Why did I mention that? Well, what is fiat money? As we all know, during Richard Nixon's administration back in 1971, the gold standard was canceled as part of a series of economic measurement undertaken by the United States that later became to be known as the Nixon shock. Okay, so in 1971, the gold standard was canceled. From that moment on, not only the United States, but all the other economies around the world stopped using the gold standard as a way of measure wealth and riches, okay? So when we did that, we automatically accepted that fiat money is an intrinsically valueless type of currency. Of course, it is widely accepted as a means of payment. Many monetary theories try to explain the value of fiat money based on the public or market perception or trust upon the issuing government. Okay, in summary, the definition of fiat money or the value of fiat money could be summarized with this phrase: the underlying value of fiat money comes from the government word. Okay, so how much is $1 worth? It is not backed by any asset. There's no gold standard. So a dollar is worth what the government tells us that dollar is worth. The fiat money concept of this economic experiment, which is amazing to me, I'm always talking about this, is that we, at some point in time, we as a society came up with this amazing idea of a collective lie. That's money, that's fiat money, a collective lie, because I do not have anything unless I trust the government who's issuing the money. So until I believe the government telling me this piece of paper is worth 5, 10, 20, or 50 units of said currency, until I trust them on that, I do not have anything. From the moment that I trust them about what this piece of paper is worth, that exact moment is when I acquired said monetary value. So the underlying value of fiat money comes from the government word, nothing else. And in this scenario, if the stable coin is backed by, let's say, US dollars, but US dollars are not backed by anything, it is not a stable coin because it is not backed or anchored to any value. We have to understand this because this is the part in which the stable coin process of JP Morgan and Facebook starts to get very complicated, and we'll be addressing each point. So let's talk about Facebook. Is it a social network or a financial system? Because this is the change that we are experiencing in this market. So what's Libra? Libra, it's basically a stablecoin project issued by Facebook in which they will maintain a one-to-one ratio. This means that for every dollar cashed in to the Libra project, a Libra unit will be issued on a one-to-one ratio. Okay, it could be $1, or it could be 20 pesos, or it could be 0.90 euros, as long as it is equal to $1, no matter the currency. So we're taking the $1 standard. We're not using the gold standard anymore. We're using the dollar standard, which is actually already in place. Every bank in the world uses the dollar standard, so we're not changing anything. Think about it. We're not changing anything from the financial system. We're just translating it to the crypto market. So that's Libra. But how does it work? Well, fractional reserve banking is a system in which only a fraction of the bank deposits are backed by actual cash on hand, okay, and available for withdrawal. This is like the Netflix original series Ozark. On the first episode, the main character is trying to withdraw all the money from his bank, but the bank simply denies it. The bank simply cannot do it because they do not have enough money for the cash out. So this story is amazing as an example, because banks can deny us our own money if they do not have enough cash to sustain the withdrawal, and that happens. Okay, the standard ratio established for banks is 9-10. This means 10% cash reserves and 90% fractional reserves. But how does Facebook reserves work? The Libra project states that 20% of the reserve will always be kept in cash, while the remaining 80% will be invested, okay, invested in 3-month governmental bonds with low risk and conservative rates. So how does Facebook Libra work? This is amazingly short for an explanation. It's a reserve that's not protected, but invested. It sounds weird, right? They're presenting themselves as a reserve of money, but they are working as an investment model. But it gets weirder and way complicated on the JP Morgan side, because, well, JP Morgan, what's JP Morgan? Financial services or a financial system? Because then again, we do have the same problem happening with JP Morgan. What's JP Morgan coin? Exactly the same as Facebook Libra. For every dollar cashed in on JP Morgan coin, a JP Morgan coin will be issued. It's exactly the same premise, the same objective, but JP Morgan will work differently from Libra. Why is that? Because JP Morgan is already a bank. Okay, so the industry standard applies to them directly. The original 9-10 ratio for reserves and investing, it applies directly to JP Morgan. So unlike Libra, JP Morgan does not have to innovate in such an established industry. So its reserves will work exactly like traditional banking. Only 10% will be held as cash reserves, while the remaining 90% is invested as a fractional reserve banking. Okay? Now, we'll have a look to the financial model of both projects, but we have to pay attention on every step of the way in order to understand the problematic situation we are living right now, or we can be facing in the near future. So let's begin. Step 1, the issuance. Fiat money is received into the reserve, the cashed in process. On a 1-to-1 ratio, and according to the reserve, the coins are issued. This means that if I deposited $10, 10 units of the stable coin are going to be issued on a 1-to-1 ratio. And on the user's side, the user receives the coins and starts to use it, okay? Then we have the step 2, circulation. On the user side, the coins are still circulating, even though they are not they may not belong to the original holder. They are all already in circulation on the market. But on the bank side, the bank withholds the proper reserve, 10 or 20%, depending on the Facebook or JP Morgan project. And the remaining capital, this is the 90 or 80%, is then invested as a fractional reserve banking. This takes us to the step 3 of this whole system. The step 3 is the cash out. So let's suppose that the final user, whomever this is, decides to cash out their stable coin in exchange for fiat money. They go to the bank with a 1-to-1 ratio. Every fiat unit is then cashed out to redeem the stable coins in the cash out process. So if I handed 100 units of the stable coin, I will receive 100 units of the fiat currency in which is valuated my stable coin. In this case, let's use the dollar as the example. So as you can see, this is a very simple model and system, but we have to look at it from another perspective to understand the problematic situation we have in front of us. This is when we applied math to the system. Now, follow me on this amazing journey because we'll begin to see the problems. We have the step one, again, this is the cash in process, but let's say fiat money is cashed in, let's say, for example, $100 are deposited. The bank keep 15% as cash reserves, $15. And the user receives the coins and start to use them, believing that there is a one-to-one ratio between the value he's holding and the value of the reserve, even though in this precise moment, there is no $100 on the bank, it's only $15 on the bank. This takes us to the step two, investing, okay? The 85% remaining is invested. We're taking 15% and 80% because that's the average between 90% and 10% and 80% and 20%. This is the average between both projects for us to understand the example in a very way. So the 80% remaining is invested as fractional reserve banking. We're talking about $85. Okay, $85 are invested in this type of investing. The fractional reserve banking consists on governmental bonds with a conservative rate of 4.35. Okay, this is a very conservative rate for a governmental bond, 5.35%. And on the user side, the circulation units keep their original value at a one-to-one ratio. They are still worth the same, even though the bank only have $15 with them as a reserve, and the rest, the $85, are being invested. The problem comes when we close the cycle on a 1 year time lapse. Okay, so a year has passed, and the final user decides to cash out their stablecoins. Pay attention to this. After a year, and with a 4.43% investment rate, the original $85 became $88.7. Plus the cash reserves, remember it's $15, the 15%, it adds up to $103.7. So when the user exchanges 100 stablecoins units for $100, we have a discrepancy because the real amount the financial institution is holding from us is $103.7, and they are giving us only $100. We have a $3.7 missing, and this is why this conference is called "Where's the Spare Change?" Who's keeping this money? Because it's an inflationary problem from both projects that work exactly the same. Now, let's talk about every problem one by one. We have an artificial market with these stable coins projects because we have misleading marketing. Even though it is presented as a reserves project, it's not like a savings account. They are not guarding our money. They are investing theirs. Remember that when we cash in money in any financial institution, by law and according to the contract that we are signing when we cash in money on any institutional financial institution, that money is not longer ours, it's theirs. So they are not guarding our money, they are investing theirs. Then we have the bubble effect. There are discrepancies since year one. Can you imagine what would happen on year 2, year 3, or I mean, God sakes, a 10-year period? How this would change everything from an inflationary point of view? So there are discrepancies since year one regarding the investment, reserves, cash in and cash out. The whole system and their model simply do not add up. Okay, it doesn't add up, as we saw. And to this day, neither of the issuance has stated how will they solve this inflationary problem, nor have they stated what will happen to the difference between the cashed in amounts and the investment profits, because they haven't stated. I mean, obviously they are going to keep the money. It's already, we can already determine that it's their profit. Okay, they're going to keep it. It's not going to be redistributed or anything. But in theory, if that's the user's money, it should be reincorporated to the user's market in some way. We could see we have different kinds of stablecoins solving this problem through algorithmic process, through burning and selling said currencies in order to maintain the supply value for it to stay as stable as possible, because remember, they are stable coins. They are intended to have the same value through time. But we have to understand that as a conclusion, this is the main one. That's why I wanted to connect it. It's an artificial stability. And that's important because remember, not everything that stays the same is worth the same. Money as time is not linear, okay? And the second conclusion, the business model, it's weird. Think about it. It's a savings account that remains exactly the same always, while it behaves like an investment account. But we are not taking our profit in count. We are being excluded from our profit. So it's weird. There's a savings account that behaves like an investment account. Why? And then that's the third conclusion. Why crypto? This, I mean, think about it. Everything that I have been talking about, it's literally the antithesis of the crypto revolution. Okay, we are praising fiat. We are bringing fiat back. Remember that cryptocurrencies came to life through the share work of the cypherpunks because they only wanted an option, another option that wasn't money. And now we are basing these solutions on money again. We're bringing fiat back. Sorry. So we're praising fiat. We are praising centralization, and we are bringing inflationary conducts to the crypto market. Why? So these projects do not work as well as we thought they would. So we have to think about all these points when we are approaching stablecoin projects. So I think that I consumed the time exactly. It's 5. I mean, we have 4 minutes left, I guess.
Perfect time management. Amazing. This is an amazing session. I enjoyed very, very much. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel. I will leave like 3 minutes for the audience if they want to ask any question. Please do as fast as you can because we don't have much more time now.
Of course, let me see. There are any questions?
I don't see any question, but already I have one question. Okay. I don't see any question on online or Zoom. I just want to ask you a basic fundamental question for you. How these projects can affect the cryptocurrency and blockchain adoption?
It could be widely negative because it will be accepted for the public and the market as a great solution, but it will be dismissing the problem, the underlying problem, which is an inflationary problem. As we know, the whole past year, I've been talking about this inflationary bubble that the United States is creating. And I think 2 weeks ago, Dr. Michael Burry, that as we know is the Zion Management Capital CEO and the Big Short main character, he's stating the same, that the United States are presenting an inflationary bubble coming from 2 points, from two different points of view. One is the Nixon shock, that the Nixon shock with the Bretton Woods Accords from the World War II Accords. They state that the United States will provide dollars for every oil transaction worldwide, okay? And the dollar is no longer a gold standard backed currency. Remember the Nixon shock?
Yeah, I know this problem,
so
yes.
The dollar does not have any intrinsic value. And the only thing that gives value to the dollar, it's oil. As you remember, last year's oil price was under $2. It was negative $2.5. So the only thing that was giving value to the dollar, which was the oil, had no value at all.
Volatile price.
Exactly. And we have an intrinsically worthless currency, which is praised as the most valuable currency ever. We have a bubble problem. So in this model, the most important part is to maintain an according balance. I'm an accountant, and as any accountant could remember or understand, we have to maintain this balance. Okay, we cannot issue more than we cashed in, and we could not cash out more than we cashed in. It has to be balanced. So if I deposited $100 and I'm not cashing out $100, this is not balanced. We have to understand the logic of the balanced system to find these discrepancies on the model, because it's a model discrepancy. Everything else on these projects is not that bad. They do have a great technology. They do have a great plan and a strategic work plan, workflow, everything. It's well made, but the main value point is not well executed. That's why we have these discrepancies. Another solution would be that they could say that they are protecting our money from inflation, and that's why the $100 become 103. That would be amazing, as long as we receive the $103. Because if we don't, they are only telling us that they are protecting us from inflation, but we are not enjoying the profits, protecting us from that inflation. So we have to find this logic on these projects. Okay.